Hi everyone, just before we get into another episode of What a Load of Bulls, we just want to give a shout out to our partners, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Newcastle Car and Truck Rental are a locally owned company servicing Newcastle and the Hunter. Todd Holden and family pride themselves on being part of the local community, and you feel that when you step through their doors. It isn't a different person every time you call, it's the same people taking care of business and taking care of you. So next time you're in need of a rental, be it a truck to move, a ute for those everyday DIY jobs, or a car to get the family around on a day out, be sure to contact the team at Newcastle Car and Truck Rental by visiting www.newcastlerental.com or by calling 02 49 081 081. And don't forget to tell them DJ and Simon sent you. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to all our newbies. This is episode 70 of What a Load of Bulls. Just like a seasoned player on the green, we might not be flashy, but we know how to deliver. Simon Little, mate, the world traveller, how was your holiday? It's been 3 weeks since we caught up.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty nice to be back and catching up with what's been happening on and off the green. But yeah, holiday was pretty good in Bali, Indonesia, first time there. So yeah, look, it was hot and sticky, sweaty, 30 degrees, high humidity every day. But look, it was nice to get there, relax, chill out, no work, nothing. Just worry about what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner and how many times you're going to get in and out of the pool. So yeah, it was good.
What about Bali Belly, mate? Did you get hit with it?
And I was lucky enough. No. I
stick to the bottle of water.
Stuck to the bottled water, yeah. No Bali Belly. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness. But yeah.
And the family came out unscathed as well.
Yeah. Everyone was good. So yeah, it was a good, successful trip. And yeah, everyone came back nice and relaxed. So back into the thick of it and into work life again.
Nice. Well, mate, last time we spoke, because we did say that there was going to be a bowls club being built up in Bali and you hoped to get there. Yeah. Not only did you get there, you ran into a celebrity there. Mate, talk us through that.
I did, yeah. Good old Mike Nagy, ex-blackjack, former blackjack and world champion from back in the day. And he messaged me, listens in to the podcast, because he messaged me and he said, just listen to the last episode of the podcast. I hear you're going to Bali. Me and the missus and kids are coming over. Do you want to catch up for a beer? So yeah, good old Mike got in contact, old teammates from Tarn Point. And yeah, it's been a while since I've seen him. So yeah, he said, let's go and meet up at where the bowls club is, have a little look and have a few bintangs. And yeah, it was good to catch up with him and what's going on with him. And he's at Waverley Bowls Club in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. So catching up with what's been going on there. And he's, telling me all about playing at the inter-regions as well and how they were runners-up and had a good go up there at the inter-regions. So yeah, caught up well.
And he's trialling to be a blue. He trialled to be a blue, didn't he, for the over 40s as well? So it'll be interesting to see how that goes from going from a blackjack to a blue.
Yeah.
You know? He's an absolute legend of a bloke, and I didn't have much to do with him, but any time I was down Town Point, he's an absolute legend of a bloke. He gets tarred with that brush of Ali Forsyth and just being cranky all the time, but he's definitely not. He's completely
the same hairstyle.
You behave. You're not far off. So you're not. But there's one thing that did annoy me, mate, and you know how I don't like these internet trolls, but I had to have a bite back. And Blake Signal, did you see that comment?
I did.
Blake Signal jumping on there asking for Mike Nagy to get tips from you. Sorry, Blake, but as I said in the Facebook comment, that fella carried you to a world title. And if he can do that, he's obviously some player. All right, Signal. So I know you're listening. Back off, you internet troll.
Good on you, Mike. No, it's good. It's good to catch up with old Mike Nagy. And had a little look at the club. They've got a bit of work to do, to be honest. They've got a tournament happening there, I think, in about a month's time or in a little bit.
A month?
Yeah.
I assume it's going to be an artificial green then?
I'm thinking so, yeah. I don't think there'll be grass on it.
You didn't go in and see the CEO of the club or anything then, no?
Nah, there wasn't. Look, it's not a huge bowls club. Look, it's not going to be a massive club. I seen the sort of little surrounds and everything in the little sort of clubhouse that was being built. So look, it's not going to be huge, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of characters around that bowls club whenever it gets up and going, and plenty of expats over there playing
especially
long
when
bowls,
the Aussies find it.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we could go out there sometime, DJ, and have a little trip out to Bali and check out whenever it's up and going and see how it goes. Maybe take part in the tournament sometime.
If you're a pan, I'm going.
Let's see.
All good. Right. So moving on then, buddy. Yeah, it's been a few weeks since we've been in, but we're going to go back to back. We will be out this week and we'll be back next week as well, because we do know Bulls New South Wales Platinum Pennant Finals are on this weekend coming. So we're going to give you a bit of a preview into that, and we'll conclude that next week as well, also, along with a few other things that we want to talk about. But around the greens, mate, there's been a little bit happening.
There has, yeah.
You haven't, well, you have checked it out, have you? Even though you're just sunning it up in Bali. Sticking with Bulls New South Wales theme, they had their champion singles on recently. So well done in the women's event. 25 victory for Channel Shakush over Danielle Thompson from Condobolin. Did I get that right, Simon?
You did, yeah. I've been there, yep.
It's good to see those clubs from out west getting a run in these champion events. So it is. But the numbers don't seem to be dropping off too much in terms of, like, I know there's a lot of criticism about every club winner going to the champions, but the numbers seem to be holding pretty steady. I know we had a bit of a go. I think there was one year there was like 80 forfeits or something stupid, but yeah, it's good to see that they're still going and still going well. And you're getting those clubs from out west making a name for themselves in there as well. So well done to Channel. Obviously, that move from St. John's Park to Marylands has done her well. Maybe not into Platinum Pennant, but we'll get to that. And in the men's event, J. Norris, 25-13, Anthony Moran from Corrimal. So well done to J. J-By's won this event a few times down in Victoria, and he's an Australian champion winner eventually as well. So now Jay's gone over one at a Raymond Terrace, which I suppose it's a bit of an easy club to win. Like, you got to get through Lennon Scott, Jason Stokes, Matty Bouse, and Lee Schreiner. Like, it's not really much to get through to go and win the champion over there at Raymond Terrace at your first go. So well done to J-By on doing that and making it through, and he'll go on to try and contest for the Australian title later in the year as well. So yep, well done to them. What else went on? We had made the $100,000 Everest was on in Western Australia again. What an event.
100K.
What an event. Some big names over there, and there was a little name that won it. Gary Kelly. Seen a nice photograph of our Gaza there standing holding a big check. $50,000 check.
Ooh.
So it was.
When do we spend that
Gary's won a lot of events. He's won a lot of Irish titles, British titles, club titles, and I tell you what, he's never smiled like he did in that photograph holding that check. So he can, and I let him know about that too. So well done, Gaza. It was a good final against Benny Twist as well. I watched the sort of tail end of it, maybe the last third, and that went for about an hour and a half. That particular section of the game when I joined, it was just singles all the way through. It was a battle. It certainly was a battle between the two guys, and it was a good game to watch. Jump over to Britain. So England, mate. Our friend there, Dominic McVitie, who we had on the podcast back end of last year, Dom took out the national men's singles, and Nicole Rogers, who we seen down in Barham as well, made the final of the World Series finals. She's taken out the women's singles, which I think was the first time for the two of them to do that. So congratulations to Nicole and Dom over there in England. We'll jump back down to, we say Australia, but we're going into Mexico, as we call it up here in New South Wales. We're going to Victoria.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a chat. Last year on this one because Selena Goddard, and we were lucky to speak to Selena later in the year. Selena had a rip-roaring year last year and dominated, nearly won everything at the Victorian Open. Such a record that you think couldn't be matched again. But then up steps Olivia Cartwright from Bendigo, and Olivia takes out everything that you possibly can for a clean sweep. She walked out with 5 gold medals. She won the mixed pairs. She won the women's pairs. She won the women's triples. She won the women's singles, and then because of her feats, she managed to win the Barb Gilbert medal. So she's won everything she possibly could down there. So that is now a record that Olivia Cartwright will always hold. It'll never be broken. It could be matched. But it'll now never be broken. She's won everything down there at the Victorian Open. So well done, Liv. And jumping into the men's event now, mate. And the men's event was won by a little-known name out of Victoria and Deer Park Club, Harry Coleman. Now, Harry's not exactly a man yet. Harry's 15 years of age. Now, that's 15. A fair effort. 15 year of age, winning the Victorian Open. Now, mate, he's probably younger than what the under-18 winner was.
Well, we might have to flick Chrissy Green a message. If he's down there at Deer Park going through the junior program, he must have a pretty good junior program going on down there, hey?
Well, if you want to touch on that, mate, I have seen a few posts as well. There's a nice post there just last week, actually, with 5 of their academy members posing in front of the Bowls bumper. So it was the good old Barry Lesser Bowls bumper. You've got a couple of them coming, haven't you, Simon?
On their way.
On their way. Yep, still. But yes, mate, they are, as Chrissy talked about in one of our earlier episodes in the podcast with our player interviews, they are doing a lot of good work down there. They're very pushing the juniors very, very hard. And obviously Harry's come out of that system very well. He's now a Victorian Open singles winner at the tender age of 15. So well done, Harry, and certainly a name to look out for in the future.
Absolutely.
Moving on as well, mate, just before we get into the Platinum Pennant stuff. So we touched on the long roll there a couple of episodes ago. So the long roll is going to be, it's a bit of a promotional event for the Olympics, trying to promote bowls for the Olympics. So it's almost like a baton relay. So there's going to be a bowl transferred from club to club to club. There's going to be a couple of games played. 32 host clubs have finally been announced for that. And they're available to see on the Bowls Australia and the World Bowls website. It's rattled through a few anyway. So down in Sydney, you've got Balmain, Leichhardt, Marrickville, Cabramatta, St John's, Pennant Hills, moving up to Bado Bay, Lowlands, Raymond Terrace, Miller Park just around the corner from me, on up to North Haven, Port City, Sawtell, Park Beach, Yamba, Cherry Street Sports. Some nice clubs in there too. Yamba and Cherry Street have just made a pretty big announcement, which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. And then you've got Ocean Shores, Club Tweed, Coolangatta, Tugun, Burley Heads, Mermaid Beach, Southport, Musgrave Hill, Club Helensville, Broadbeach, Beenleigh, Salisbury, Red Hill, Camp Hill, Mount Gravitt, and finishing in Windsor. So well done to all those clubs and being selected to be part of this event. As we said, it's a bit of a promotional thing, starting in Sydney and making its way up to Brisbane, where the Olympics will be in 2032, and we're hoping to get bowls included for the very first time as a main event. We obviously have been a sort of test event in the Para back in 1986 in Atlanta. But yeah, it'll be nice to get, even if it's just Para or if it's open, to get that into the Olympics for the first time in 2032. So if you're near any of those clubs, or you didn't quite understand any of those clubs that I just rattled off so quickly with my beautiful accent, jump on to Bowls Australia. You can see it there. It's on their Facebook page. It's on their main website. Just look at those host clubs. And if you're nearby any of them, get in touch with the club, see when they're going to be there. And yes, get down there and support. I'm sure it'll be great event to be a part of. Over 1,000 kilometers being covered from Sydney to Brisbane. So great initiative, and well done to whoever's come up with that one. And hopefully it helps us get bowls into the Olympics. All right, Simon, moving on to the main event now. Platinum Pennant.
PP.
PP3, mate. You finally know what it feels like with me to be undefeated throughout a whole season, the whole regular season.
Yeah.
I'm three seasons of Platinum Pennant. I've yet to suffer defeat. This is the first. You got relegated last year, but you've come up the ranks this year and you're now undefeated. So I'd like to congratulate you on that, mate. How does it feel?
It feels pretty good. Nice watching in from the sidelines and actually, trying to pick up a few tips and how not to lose a game of Platinum Pennants.
Yeah, but you haven't lost. So that's good. You didn't lose this year, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
All right, so we give the lay of the land last time. We had 8 rounds played. Rounds 9, 10, and 11 are coming up to make the finalists, which will be played this particular weekend. So top of the tree, Raymond Terrace were still undefeated on 72.5 points. They have a home game against Belrose, a home game against Marylands, and an away game against Soldiers Point to finish up. St John's Park running second, 57.5, a little bit behind. They've got a home game against Wenty, away to Carlow, and away to Warilla. And then you've got Warilla on only a 1.5 back, 56. They're away to Carlow, away to Soldiers, away to Saints. Cabramatta, 50.5, home to Soldiers, away to Wenty, home to the Cougars. And Wenty leagues round out your top 5. They're 50.5. They go to the Saints. They're home against Cabra, and they're away to Belrose. So a tough one there. And they're being hunted down by the Marylands Magic. 40.5 points, 10 points back. Now, that's last year's minor and major premiers. Sitting outside the top 5 after 8 rounds with 3 to go. They have to go to the Griffins. They have to go to the Jets, and then they're at home against Carlow. So, winnable games, but we know what it's like up there at the hangar. And as we said, Raymond Terrace after 8 rounds are still undefeated at this point and just dominating. So, that's going to be a tough one for Marylands, who have sort of battled a bit this year. That's the 6 sides that are realistically going to make the top 5. There is a chance because you only drop 7.5 points down to Soldiers, who are on level points with Carlingford and Belrose. But they need games above them to go their way for them to even make top top 5. So they're not really going to do that. They're battling to stay in the competition because relegation is bottom 2. All right. That's currently held after 8 rounds by Engadine Cougars, who are winless and only on 4.5 points, and the Charlestown Tigers 5 points behind the East Maitland Griffins. But as we said, it's then only 9-ish points up there to Soldiers Point, who's sitting in 7th spot. All right. So we jump into round 9. Okay. After round 9, Raymond Terrace still undefeated, Simon. And Johns Park still in 2nd. Warilla in 3rd. Cabramatta in 4th. Wenty Leagues in 5th. But they did suffer defeat, Wenty. And Maryland's got a victory over the Griffins. So now they're only a point behind Wenty, pushing Wenty hard to make into that top 5. All right. Charlestown have dusted themselves off. And they've got themselves out of the relegation. They've had a win, and they've pushed East Maitland Griffins down into the relegation spots. All right. So that's not round 9. Moving on to round 10. Raymond Terrace, 10 from 10. So they are absolutely flying high. They've secured the minor premiership. Off they go. St. John's Park still in 2nd, only a point and a half ahead of Warilla, and they're about to play each other for the 2nd, 3rd spot. Cabramatta are there, and Wenty Leagues have suffered another defeat, but so did Maryland's Magic because they went to the hangar. So now there's only a point and a half in it going into the last game for the who's going to make into the top 5, and it's only really between those two sides. Charlestown Tigers had another win. They're now up 40.5 points. They've gone from 11th to 7th in 2 games. That just shows you how tight this competition's been this year. So not a bad effort from the Charlestown Tigers and Daniel Hill down there. They have, like I said last time, they pushed the East Maitland Griffins down to the relegation and they didn't respond. They've got beat again, so they're staying in relegation, and they now play Charlestown. So a local Newcastle derby at the home of the Griffins, probably a relegation battle, and still hoping for some results to go their way. So we get to round 11. Raymond Terrace didn't win, but they didn't lose either. They had a draw. So undefeated. 10 wins and a draw from 11 rounds. So they have dominated. 97.5 points. They are their minor premiers. Warilla Gorilla's 2nd spot. They've beat St. John's Park in the final round to leapfrog them. St. John's and Cabramatta, same amount of points, Simon.
Yeah.
For 3rd and 4th, but St. John's have managed to get them on the plus and the minus. They've 20 shots better off, which is pretty key because that pushes Cabramatta down into the bottom 4 versus 5 game, which is a straight elimination where St. John's play Warilla, and with the chance of you get 2 bites of the cherry. So you do in that game. So that 20 shots over the season just shows you how tight it was and how key every shot was throughout the season. And Maryland's went down in the final game, and Wenty got a win, which means Wenty Leagues for the first time in Platinum Pennant have made the top 5. And our minor and major premiers from last year have gone from the penthouse to not exactly the other place, but they've dropped out of the top 5. Now that is massive, especially they've already made some pretty big announcements for next season. We know that they've recruited 2 pretty fair players going into next season already. Yeah. So, but that's pretty big for the team to go from there to there, or from 1st to 5th, or 1st to 6th, and not make finals. So, interesting to see how that comes down. And then ended up the Charlestown were only half a point away from Maryland's. So they went from 11th and they locked in that 7th spot with 3 wins from 3 to finish off. And that then, which means that condemned Engadine Cougars, who got their first win in round 10 against East Maitland, to keep East Maitland down there in the relegation. And East Maitland and Engadine are the 2 teams that fill the last 2 spots that will be, based on previous years, will be relegated going into next year. So your top 5 then, first gets a bye into the major semi-final. All right. 2nd place 3rd in the qualifying final. 4th place 5th in the elimination final. Okay. So 4th versus 5th is Cabramatta versus Wenty Leagues. Are you going to argue with me and say Cabramatta is going to win that game?
Cabramatta is going to win that game.
Franklin Fong is not going to like that, Simon.
Sorry, Franklin, but
Franklin has messaged me after every game of Platinum Pennant this year. He has had a heck of a ride. He has enjoyed this. So it's been a roller coaster, especially that last weekend with the 3 games, and the wins and the losses have been so close. But he is absolutely buzzing that they have made that top 5. But I think Cabramatta will be too good for them, especially in those later stages. So that brings us on to, they will then play the loser of Warilla against St. John's Park. Warilla versus St. John's Park on the Raymond synthetic. Who wins that one, Simon?
That's, I don't know. That's a coin toss, that one. That'll be a good one to watch, I think. So
I think it will be. And they had a pretty tight game to finish off on Warilla's carpet, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. I'm going to give the edge to Warilla. I don't know what the team's shaping up yet, because they made a pretty big change for the last weekend with a skipper going third for another skipper.
Yeah.
And as we know, when you get to the knockouts, it's not about rink points. It's about the big board.
Yeah.
So is there a tactic there of let's load a rink up? Here we go. I don't know. I haven't spoken to anyone about that. I just, outside looking in, it was an interesting decision. So let's see how that goes. But I'm going to give the edge to Warilla.
Okay.
I'll go Warilla. So Warilla will move on from the winner of that game to play the Raymond Terrace Jets. All right. Which means the Saints will move down to play Cabramatta in another elimination game. All right. So Cabramatta versus St. John's. The old Metro Southwest Derby.
The old Zone 12.
Previous Zone 12, now the region. Okay, so who are we going for there, mate? On the Raymond Terrace Synthetic. St. John's have just lost against Warilla. And Cabramatta have got the momentum after beating Wendy.
I'm going to go St. John's Park to get through that. I think they've bounced back after disappointing last season. I think they'll be up for it. And just so that good old mate of yours, Anthony Cotty, can message you and give you some abuse on text messages that they've got through. Yeah.
I predicted him to go through this year. That's not fair. I predicted him to miss the 5 last year, and I was right. And I predicted him to make the 5 this year, and again, I was right. So Anthony Cotty hasn't got a leg to stand on there. And you've probably just offended him by saying he's a mate of mine. He doesn't want to be associated like that. Anyway, so now you've got Cabramatta eliminated in the minor semi-final and St. John's Park moving on to the preliminary final, where they will play the loser of Raymond Terrace versus Warilla. Raymond Terrace win that. Raymond Terrace goes straight through the grand final. Warilla plays St. John's Park for the second time in that weekend, with the winner going through to the grand final against Raymond Terrace. So who are you going for now, mate?
Look, I think it's going to be Raymond Terrace against Warilla. That's what I'm going with.
I'm going to give St. John's Park the edge that time. I'm going Raymond Terrace and John's Park final. And to be honest with you, Simon, I don't think it really matters who plays Raymond Terrace in the grand final because it's at the hangar.
Yeah.
It is a massive advantage to the Jets, even though they're probably not going to get to play on their regular rinks. All right. If Matty Boyce is playing on the ditch rink on that green, dear help anyone that plays him. All right. If Lee Schreiner's on the next rink in, dear help anyone that plays him. And then you've got Jay By Norris, who's just won the champion singles, and I think he nearly went undefeated throughout the whole season as well. I think he drew a couple of games and won, maybe lost one. So they've been on fire. So Raymond Terrace are your minor premiers. I'm putting them down as the major premiers. It sounds harsh, but I think it's one of the. It's almost a sure thing. Like I just think it's almost a choke if they don't win that on their own green. It's such an advantage, and they've got the momentum. Like everyone's going to be hunting them down. Don't get me wrong, but I just think Raymond Terrace is going to be too hard to beat there. We said in the early episodes, I think we both predicted him to finish 5th and said it doesn't really matter.
Because
when you get them up there, but yeah, for them to win the minor premiership, that pretty much should depend on because Bulls used to be able to control the rinks at the end of the day, so I don't know. But the way Raymond Terrace is set up, that pretty much puts them on the show rinks, which is the rinks that they always play on. And they might be moved around a bit. They might play on a couple of different ones, but it's just they're so good on that surface. They are so good, and it's the front ends that can win it for them.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be noisy up there. Whenever I was away in Bali, I did tune into the Raymond Terrace Maryland's game. I did watch a bit of that, and look, the heckling from the sidelines, noise and atmosphere. It's going to be pretty rowdy up there. They're going to have plenty of support, and everything's going to be in their favor.
They come out in droves there, and they follow their club well, but especially when it's being successful. I mean, the old BCIB competition that we used to have up in this area that you played in. Don't know how you ever marqueed in it, but anyway. But they always had some sort of an event on there that brought the crowd in, and it was always vocal and it was always loud. And the fact that they're minor premiers, the fact that they're hosting the finals. So when I was able to commentate, and I did that last year, That was my favourite game. We did one game at Raymond Terrace, and it was them against the Griffins. And that was my favourite game for a couple of reasons, but mainly because the atmosphere was good.
Yeah.
The atmosphere was absolutely brilliant. The balcony up that far end is rowdy.
Yeah.
And that's only for one game. This is going to be a full weekend.
Yeah.
That's going to be partisan. It'll be partisan up there.
Plenty of lemonades drunk on the sidelines. So, yeah, there'll be plenty of noise going on. Which,
it'll be loud.
I'll definitely be tuning into the live stream to see what's happening and what's going on, because it'll be a good spectacle and hopefully plenty of good balls being played. So looking forward to catching up some of that.
Well, the girls have got a soccer trial in the morning. Grand final out there at 3:00. I might make an appearance. We'll see how I go. We'll see how this episode's received.
Yeah.
See whether we're allowed in. But yeah, look, I just think, it was a bit of fun there predicting all the things. But I see Raymond Terrace winning this. It's going to take an almighty effort from any of those clubs, and they're capable of it.
Yep.
It's going to take an almighty effort from Franklin Fong in particular to overcome the Raymond Terrace Jets on their own track. It just is.
Yeah.
It just is. It's just the way it is. Home games, they only played 5 home games out of 11 this time, Simon, too. But it was what did we work out about? Plus 85 nearly across the 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
They had a plus 3, a plus 18, a plus 11, a plus 41, and a plus 12. And some of those, to be honest with you, some of those closer results were against East Maitland and Charlestown, who finished bottom of the ladder. Well, Charlestown didn't in the end. They hung around bottom of the ladder, then moved up. But they're local clubs that know the surface a bit better. They know what it's like to go there and play, and have had players there and within those teams have had success there. So some of the bigger losses, some of the bigger wins there, like the 18 was against Warilla, and the 41 was against Belrose. So guys that aren't used to playing on these surfaces all the time. The fact that there's not another Newcastle side there, I don't see another winner than the Raymond Terrace Jets. It's in their hands. It's really just in their hands. It's only theirs to lose, I think. So it is,
absolutely.
And that's the look ahead to Platinum Pennant 3, PP3 final series being played this weekend at Raymond Terrace. So we just went through all those games there, folks, but it does kick off 12:45 on Saturday the 11th. You've got the elimination final and the qualifying final. So that'll be Warilla against Saints in the qualifying and Cabra against Wenty in the elimination. Then we move on to 6 o'clock games. You've got the major semi at 6 o'clock. Raymond Terrace will play the winner of that first game, and the minor semi will play the loser of that first game against the winner of the second game. And then the big days you got the prelim final on the Sunday morning at 10, followed by the grand final on the Sunday the 12th at 3 o'clock. It'll all be live streamed on the Bowls New South Wales Facebook page. Mate, what do you think of the production this year? I haven't watched much of it. I'll be honest with you. It's been a bit hard to try and watch it, but you've tuned in a few times. How's the production
tuned
going?
in a few times. I thought it's been pretty good. Like on same par sort of last year. I think the value, the graphics, everything regarding around it, the branding of it, I think is really good. And that's what they need. They need really good branding to attract big sponsors. And that's what we need from a big competition. You need big sponsors that are willing to put their hands in their pockets and put some money into our sport, because that's what we want ultimately. So I think that branding and that whole more professionalism around it all, and also, the camera work they do is somebody on the camera, not just a remote control, let's look and see. So if there's people standing in the way, they can actually move the camera and we can still see the footage and see what's going on. So I think that's really good and a good aspect of Platinum Pennants too. So hopefully they can keep that going, keep that branding really competitive, keep it on par of what it needs to be, and keep moving forward and getting those big sponsors, because that's what we need.
Well, that's what TAB is. At the end of the day, they're a pretty big sponsor to have. But you're right, mate. And to be involved in that last year and be behind the scenes of that, it's like the live streams and all that are great because it gets bowls out there.
Yeah.
People can sit and tune into bowls a lot more than they used to be able to. But that's more of a broadcast now. As you said, they're manned cameras. It's not just the PTZs that you see there sat up that people just remote control and sometimes get wrong on that. It's a proper production. You've got a producer there, this, that, and whatever. It's always a great spectacle to watch. If they have one of those third microphones just out amongst the crowd, hopefully it just hears the buzz of the crowd as to maybe some of the words that are spoken, because it could be, like I said, I reckon it'll be pretty partisan. But mate, it should be an unbelievable atmosphere. So much so that it's tempting me to maybe make that little 30-minute drive out there to Raymond Terrace and see a grand final. So we'll see how we go. I'll let you know, mate, if we're going to do that or what. There's nothing better than a club that's alive with the buzz of balls being rolled and members catching up under the canopy. A Mac structure keeps the greens busy and the club buzzing all year round. For a busy club and busy greens, make it a Max. Moving on then, Simon, we've got a couple of other topics to talk about. You had a very interesting read of a Bowls Queensland article.
Yeah.
Up there for our neighbours north of the border here in Australia.
I did see a little post came up on Facebook. ABC came up with a news article about Bowls Queensland maintains silence over rumoured Cooperoo, I hope I've pronounced that correct, Bowls Club sell-off. So there's a bit of a news article. One of the mainstream news broadcasters came out with Bowls Queensland had bought this club a while back, and I'd read somewhere that they bought it for $1, something like that, back.
Yeah, right, okay. So the club's been struggling.
It's been struggling.
And the
Bowls
actual
Queensland
governing body within the state has gone, well, we'll buy you and keep you open.
Yeah. So the site was sold to Bowls Queensland for $1.09, on the understanding that it would provide a venue for the community. So to basically keep the bowls going, keep the venue going. So Bowls New South Wales bought it.
Bowls Queensland.
Sorry, Bowls Queensland.
Offending our Queensland listeners.
Bowls
Queensland.
Bowls Queensland. So, yeah, this news article kind of painted Bowls Queensland out to be the big bully. You know, that they're now up in sticks selling what they bought for $1 and going to make multi-millions out of this. And this poor little club's they're not going to be no more. There's no more community venue. It's not going to be there anymore, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, ABC News, whatever news, just, I think it's a bit of a jump on the mean guy, the villain, you know, and portray that this is a struggling old bowls club. And look, we've seen stuff like this before in the past, haven't we, from other clubs, where news articles pick up on a little breadcrumb of something and run with, I think it wasn't there a club in northern parts of Sydney, Central Coast, that we talked about a while back, something similar of thing. There was a news article came out. So look, that was what the news article came out. Bowls Queensland remained sort of silent on the thing, but Bowls Queensland came out with a release then, a little bit after that. And reading their release, you can go on the Bowls Queensland website and see the release of what they said. And basically they've come out and said that after acquiring the club, they paid off debt of more than $100,000 since 2009. So they've paid up whatever debt was on the club. And in the meantime, since 2009, they have subsidized over 15 years, has now exceeded $1.3 million plus GST. $1.3 million Bowls Queensland have poured into this club to keep it going. That is a hell of a lot of money.
It is. And that money would have been coming from the other clubs Queensland, who are basically propping this club up.
Yeah. 269 other bowls clubs in Queensland have basically been subsidising this club. So this is what as Bowls Queensland have come out with, and which they have also said is why the member districts unanimously voted to sell this club in last year's council vote. So it went to a vote of all the other districts.
Yeah, exactly. The guys in the office haven't just turned around and gone, we're going to sell this now. It's gone to a vote.
Yeah, it's gone to a vote. So obviously it's other clubs have sort of had enough of this, that your state organisation is propping up this one club. And look, think of all that money that could have been put to expanding our sport, expanding events, whatever it may be, for the sake of one club. And look, we don't like to see clubs fold. That's not what we're here about. But I think it reiterates that bowls clubs have to be run as a business. They have to make money. They cannot be losing ventures. We can't keep propping up clubs that are losing money year after year after year. And there's obviously something not right with the business case. Like, we don't know the ins and outs of it all, but ultimately you can't keep propping up clubs year after year after year and keep losing money. So something has to be done at some point, and looks like Bowls Queensland have come to, or sorry, not Bowls Queensland, but the member districts have come to a bit of a
Well, they're
decision
part of
on
Bowls
that.
Queensland. They're the
Yeah.
stakeholders of Bowls Queensland. So you're not wrong there in saying Bowls Queensland, mate. So yeah, like as you said, someone hasn't just woke up the next one morning and gone, let's just get rid of Cooperoo or whatever you call it. And I don't mean that as dismissive. I mean that as, I'm not too sure to say it properly, but I think it's Cooper, as you said, it's Cooperoo.
Yeah.
So yeah, formed in 1929. That club fell into financial difficulties 2009. Bowls Queensland bought it for $1, propped it up, and now I've decided that we're not going to prop it up anymore. It's not making money. Time to sell it on.
Yep.
Well, I'd imagine that sell on at the end of the day is going to only put money back into the game for the other clubs.
Yeah. And look, it says in their statement, Bowls Queensland's intention with any potential sale of the club is to ensure that the game of bowls remains on the site. So all interested parties that Bowls Queensland have engaged will have indicated they are supportive of bowls continuing to be played at the venue. So we're still hopefully going to have a club there, but it's just probably going to be sold to a developer that's probably going to do some sort of development with a new bowls club attached to it. That's what I'd be thinking would be happening. So I really yes, you're selling off the club, but I think there's the whole thing that they bought it for $1 and they're now going to sell it off for probably millions. But that money's going to go back into our sport, and hopefully that club will still remain there and have a brand new club facility potentially.
Yeah, I'm just on, as you said, you're reading a couple of articles there. I've just jumped on the Cooperoo's website. So 2009, Cooperoo Bowls Club encountered financial difficulties. Bowls Queensland offered to assist the club by purchasing the premises for $1, as you said. And in return, they took care of the debt and they leased the premises back to Cooperoo Bowls Club with the guarantee that lawn bowls would continue at the club and in the interim. The initial lease period was 15 years, which expired on the 17th of September 2024. With an option to renew for another 15 years. Discounted rentals were offered initially. So they weren't even paying market rate.
Yeah.
So they weren't, to keep them open. And then that finally increasing to market rate. And then Bowls Queensland first considered redevelopment back in 2017, according to this. But due to opposition from the club, local politicians and the community, never went through. And they've put in, according to Cooperoo, they've put in some pretty substantial facility upgrades over the last 5 or 6 years in the club as well. And now they're just on a month-to-month lease until the 31st of May this year. And it says there they're awaiting Bowls Queensland's decision on the future of the club for bowlers in the wider community. But as you said there from the article, looks like they're going to put the land up for sale. So yeah, so what is that? They haven't announced what the plan is there. Have they decided they're just going to sell it? But there could potentially be a plan in the works to relocate. You don't know. We don't know. We're not in a position to really talk about that. It was just something interesting that popped up that people have been asking us about it, and we thought we'd talk about it.
It's interesting to get two sides of the story because, you read the new ABC News report and it's all, anti Bowls Queensland. But then when you actually read what Bowls Queensland come out with, you just go, well, it kind of makes sense a little bit that this is what you do.
Model.
It's a business model, yeah. And I think that's what we got to think about our bowls clubs. We got to think of them as businesses. Yes, they're community hubs that provide spaces and get-togethers for people of the community. But if you don't run a business or successful business, it's not going to be there. We can't just keep running things at a loss and hoping that things are just going to magically turn around and change.
No, exactly. We talked about that on the podcast previously. You need to be that community hub. You need to be a place that people want to go. But you can't do it for free.
No,
you got to make money. They're not for profit organizations at the end of the day, but you got to make money to pay your bills.
Exactly.
And then to put back into the community. So yeah, it's up to them to get the business model right. Like, we don't know the ins and outs of it. We looked at it from the outside looking in and thought, yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, there's two sides to every story, arguably three. The news certainly always gives a very biased point of view towards one side rather than the other. They don't give a neutral perspective at times. I'm not saying one's right or wrong, but they tend to latch onto something and just go with that. So whether you can follow that or not, I don't know. But yeah, at the end of the day, why should those other clubs in Queensland be putting all their membership fees and all their capitation fees into Bowls Queensland for Bowls Queensland to pump it into just one club? They're there for every club. How many other clubs in that 15 years, Simon, have folded in Queensland at the time? That'd be a question to look at as well, which I haven't looked at. They've folded in Bowls Queensland, haven't helped them out. So why Well, there must be something in Cooperoo that made it special at the time for the Bowls Queensland to take it on. But hopefully they find a resolution that helps everyone happy. But at the end of the day, you got to run a business. And we don't want to see clubs fold, as we said. We want to see the more the merrier. We want to see more people in the game. But if your business model's not right, it's like any other business, not even just bowls clubs. If your business model's not right, you're not making money. You're not going to keep your doors open for too long. And it's not up to governing bodies to then give you the money as a handout to keep it open.
Especially with these inflation, fuel prices.
Things
are more expensive these days.
You had to bring it up.
Things are more expensive these days.
Yep. That's why I've gone hybrid, mate.
How is the new car going?
The new car's going good, man. Absolutely brilliant. I would recommend a hybrid to anyone. It's not a plug-in hybrid R1, but yeah, absolutely brilliant. We've had it a couple of weeks now and haven't topped up the fuel yet. So
you'd be sitting
just waiting for the
prices
prices to compare the
prices.
Mate, it's unbelievable. It's fierce altogether. I'm laughing at the people at home too. Back at Belfast saying about how pricey it all is. You should look at ours. Anyway, hopefully that gets sorted pretty soon too, mate, because as you know, two of us like to travel home every now and again, and we can't have the price of flights going up too much, especially with ever-growing families.
Absolutely.
Mine's stopped growing now. I don't know about yours. We'll keep that posted over the podcast. One last announcement to make before we go then, Simon. All the bowls clubs in the Brisbane area on notice. Simon Little is out on the lookout for a new club north of the border.
North of the border, yeah.
Yeah.
Big news.
And Ness have decided eventually you're going to make the move to Brisbane.
Yeah, look, we've had a bit of success lately in securing a house. And yeah, a house in...
Mansion.
No, a
Bowls
house
Academy
in,
mansion.
A house in Brisbane. Yeah. So at the moment, we're hanging around Sydney for another while. But eventually we will look to move up to Brisbane and move into that property. So yeah, look, I'll be on the lookout for any clubs that want an old hack and come and join a club. And yeah, look forward to getting stuck into what is happening in bowls in and around Queensland and getting into the Queensland way of bowls. So I think it'll be a bit different to playing in New South Wales for sure.
It will be, man. It won't be as good. So it won't. But we're just unbiased about that. But yeah, so all those clubs up in Brisbane, you have been warned. He's on his way. So if you want to start thinking of reasons not to take him on, I would do that now. Coaching wise, maybe. Playing wise, he's past it. But yes, so
Thanks,
massive.
mate.
Well done to you and Ness. She's been looking for a long time. Big move, obviously, to go to Brisbane, but right time to do it with, the little one not being at school or anything yet. So
yeah. Oh, look, maybe there might be a room for you whenever the Olympics pops up. Hopefully Bowls is in there, we'll be pretty close to it if we get there.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be playing if I go there. I think it'll be spectating.
I'll make sure there's a spare bed for you at the back somewhere, right, that you can lay your head watching the Olympics.
Happy days, man. Happy days. Well, hopefully, mate, that's one of a few big announcements in our personal lives that we could bring up over the next few weeks, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, well done to you and Ness, mate, and obviously little Ellie. So it's always nice when you're able to buy your first home. So especially at your tender age of 45, like it's good to get you on the market. You're still older than me. But yes, that's about all for this week, folks. So yeah, we'll be back next week. And there's some more topics coming over the next few episodes as well. But like next week will be a roundup of what happened with PP3. Still trademarked by the Bowls Academy and What Are the Bowls podcast. Billy Johnson, you cannot have it. But yes, we'll bring you that and the Raymond Terrace victory, likely. Luckily, there's no betting on that. You wouldn't make any money on it, I don't think, man. Honestly, it's.
I think so.
Oh, it's a red hot. We've just done a team talk for a few clubs around the place, but yeah, look, Raymond Terrace, I think they're going to win it. But we will bring you a roundup of that next week, folks. World Bowls, as they always do, quiet for a month or two, and then just make a massive amount of announcements. So we'll have a look at some of that, some events coming up, some new committees around para and things. Mate, I've seen a nice post there from World Bowls about a Brazilian event. Can't wait to talk to you about that one, either next week or the episode after. World Bowl Series rankings as well have all been updated. And as we all know, folks, Commonwealth Games is getting closer and closer. Some other teams have been announced. Bowls Australia are sending a team to Scotland very soon for a test series or a multi-nations as well. Gary's just got back from Northern Ireland where he was in a test series as well against England. All those sort of things are happening. Canada's already picked their team. England's already picked their team. Scotland can't be too far away. Australia can't be too far away. New Zealand can't be too far away. So once all them start to come, folks, we'll look into that as well. And hopefully Mr. President Brett O'Reilly will bless us with his presence again. He has sort of hinted he wouldn't mind coming back on to have a chat to us. And we've got another big one coming up as well, mate. We'll give it a shout out now. Gallo Bowls. If you haven't looked them up on Facebook, get a look up for Gallo Bowls. Absolutely. Dean up there has done wonders. And he started his own little sort of marketing thing on the side, helping bowls clubs promote themselves, especially around the social media area. So yeah, I've had a chat to Dean. Dean's pretty keen to come on and share his experience with us too. It'd be great to have that side of the game spoke about as well. So yeah, Dean, if you're listening, mate, can't wait to actually sit down and have a chat with you. But yes, so there's still plenty to come over the next couple of weeks, but we are doing back-to-back episodes, folks. So after you've listened to this one, we'll be back again next week. Then we'll take a week off. We'll go back to our fortnightly episodes from that. But yes, Simon, good to have you back, mate, and all well rested from Bali.
Yep, absolutely.
Luckily I could understand your Balinese accent. It didn't rub off too quickly, the old Northern Irish charm. So yeah, as always, folks, keep that little disc on the inside.
And good luck on those greens. The views, information, or opinions expressed during What a Load of Bulls podcast episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not represent those of any group, organization, or employer associated or affiliated to individuals. This podcast is for general information purposes only, to educate and inform. This podcast does not constitute professional advice or services. What a Load of Bulls does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed or statements made within episodes.